Hello and welcome to Millennium Tech Talk. Today's Tech Talk is basic door kit training, and this is session 4, adding access levels, card holders, and credentials. My name is Damon Palmer, and I'll be your Millennium trainer for today. So how do we add access levels, card holders, and credentials to Millennium Ultra? Well, there's 4 easy steps. Step 1, make sure your door kit is online and ready for updates. Step 2, set up access levels for all of your doors. Step 3, set up card holders to assign access levels to. And Step 4, add credentials to card holders to open those doors. Well, let's get started. Step 1, make sure your door kit is online and ready for updates. Now, as you can see here from last session, our card is programmed to connect through the Millennium configurator and is ready for configuration because we can see that the board is online. And we can tell that by the rapidly flashing light. And as we demonstrated in the last session, if there is no connection, the light will flash very slowly. And in this case, you can see that it's rapid flashing. So this board is more than likely online. Now to confirm that, we can go to our software and we can go up to the top to the Maps command and then over to the Device Map tab. And it'll open up into a hierarchical tree if you drop it down. And as I mentioned last time, we do have some other hardware that I have powered down right now, so we can just focus on the one site that we have set up in the prior sessions called Parking Garage. And in our last session, we set up our entrance gate and our exit gate, and you notice that all 3 are green, which means they are all online. And to verify, if you click on them and then look over on the right, you'll see the current state and the status boxes. And right there you can see that the board is online, and you can check each door as well. And again, online and online. Now the reason we check for this is because if the boards are not online, then we're not going to be able to add any card holders to those doors. So now that they're online, they are ready to be downloaded with the information as we add it. And that way our doors will work through the credentials that we give them and when we do our final testing in the next session. So now we're ready to move on to the next step. Step 2, set up access levels for all of your doors. Well, how do we set up access levels? Well, we go to System Administration tab at the top of the screen, and then we click on the access level icon on the nav bar. That will open up a block, and then we will see here that on the left-hand side, all of the existing access levels that we have created in our system. And on the right-hand side, the major portion of the screen is all about doors and floors and whether they're assigned or not assigned and so on. So we'll go ahead and move step by step to clearly show you how to set up an access level for the 2 doors that we have created for our site controller. So let's go down and hit New, and then we'll go ahead and call this new access level whatever we need it to be. So let's call this 3rd Street Parking Garage. Okay, and if you need more of a description there, you can fill that right in there. If you need something to reference to later, you can skip over tenant and type because we're not using those for this training. And then you'll see that the next group of buttons are for doors, door groups, floors, and floor groups. Now, floors and floor groups are for elevators, and those are part of a more advanced training that will be in a later session. But the basics for today are going to be doors and door groups. Now, door groups are helpful when you have a lot of doors and you want to assign them all to the same function. But for us here today, we really just have our 2 doors. So let's just click on doors, and we're just going to individually select our 2 doors. But know that we're able to group doors and floors and so on all and make different access levels that are very convenient for us to assign to card holders by grouping them in door groups or floor groups. So again, to clarify, under available objects, we're going to just pick the one controller that we're using, which is the parking garage. This is the site controller that we set up 2 sessions ago. And here are the 2 doors, entrance gate and exit gate, that we created in the last session. So what we need to do now is these are the available objects, and see down here at the bottom is the assigned box. And we're going to need to move whatever doors we want in our 3rd Street Parking Garage into the assigned box in order for this access level to control who has access to these doors. So let's go ahead and pick the entrance gate, And then on the right-hand side, we have what's called time periods. And notice there's always, never, and business week. And again, in a later training, I'll show you how to do time periods. But for right now, we're going to focus just on always and never. Obviously, never is designed for pre-construction when we don't want anyone using the door relays until we have them fully programmed. And then we also have always. And for the simplicity of this training, we're going to assume that everyone in our database needs to get to the entrance gate all the time. So entrance gate, always, and then over on the right, I'm going to click Add, and that will drop the entrance gate down to the bottom. It's now assigned to the 3rd Street parking garage access level. And then I'm going to click on Exit Gate, and again, I'm going to click Always, and then I'm going to click Add. And now notice our available objects is 0 because we've only selected this one site controller parking garage. And then down at the bottom, we have our entrance gate and our exit gate are now assigned to the 3rd Street parking garage access level. So now if we hit save, we will notice over on the left that we now have a new access level called 3rd Street parking garage. So now that access level is available for us to program into our cardholders. And now we're ready to move on to the next step of adding cardholders to our Millennium Ultra system. Step 3, set up cardholders to assign access levels to. Now let's go to the software. And we're going to go to the Home tab at the top left, and then we're going to click on Cardholders. And then that will open up the cardholder window. You'll notice that there are several tabs across the top, one for identification, which has basic demographic information like name, address, phone number, etc. And then there's a tab for cards, which also really means credentials. And there we will have places for the card number, facility codes, PIN codes, activation date, card format, etc. There's a general information tab for things like department or company email and when badges were issued and things like that. There's also an additional information which include things like vehicle information, parking designations, things like that. Then there's a user fields where this is the area where you can create unlimited unique fields, and you can have those right here in the cardholder record, and that will be covered in a later session. And then also if you have a car, such as like for a Chevy Tahoe, for example, I have here an example, we can also assign cars to the individual cardholder. So let's go ahead and begin from the beginning. We'll go ahead and back and click on identification, and let's go ahead and set up our first cardholder. So the first thing we need is, well actually let me step back a second. There are 10 things that we're going to need to set up a cardholder with enough information to actually use a credential at a door. In this step, we're going to set up the first 3 items of those 10 on the identification tab only. And item number 1 is the first name, and I'm going to use Tom. And the last name, I'll just use Brady. And under unit number, I'm going to just put in 12. So every card holder must have at least a first name, a last name, and a unique unit number or employee ID or some third field that you will fill in here in this box so that you have a complete record that's unique to the system. And then you'll click on Save. Once you have done that, you are now ready to move on to the next step. Step 4, adding credentials to cardholders in order to open doors. Well, now let's go back to our cardholder. And for this step, we will go ahead and give them credentials. And we'll click on cardholders. And we're going to call up the cardholder we already created. And we're going to move from tab 1 to tab 2. And remember I said that there were 10 things that we needed to set up. The first 3 were mentioned in the prior step: first name, last name, and unit number, employee ID, whichever you have labeled this field. And those 3 items make up the basic cardholder record. The other 7 we're going to enter in the cards. So under cards is where we enter our credential information and we assign this particular credential to a group of doors through the access level, which happens here across the bottom. But first, let's go ahead and put in the basic card information. And I'm just going to use a 5-digit number for a basic Wiegand 26-bit format. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You put whatever is either printed on the back of the fob, or if you present a key fob, you can also use the number that shows up in the activity log and type that number in here. If you're using facility codes, you'll click into facility code, and enter the facility code. And then over on the right, you're going to click Active. And what Active does is turn on the activation date and the expiration date. So the system is designed to default to 2 years. So you notice that the activation date is set for February 18, 2022, and the expiration date is set for 2 years later in 2024. You can change this manually, or you can set the default, whatever you desire. The system comes with a 2-year default expiration date already built in. And then you'll notice that right next is the card format, and this will be the same card format that we set up under readers when we set up the hardware back in a prior session. So you'll click on we get 26-bit with a facility code, because again, we are using a facility code for our fobs. So just to take stock, identification, we have 1, 2, 3 of our 10 fields, and then encoded card and so on. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for active, 9 for the card format, and then 10 is going to be access level. So we're going to click in access level, and remember from one of our prior steps, we created a new access level called 3rd Street Parking Garage. So if we click on 3rd Street Parking Garage and just click on OK. I'm leaving the activation and expiration blank because we've already set it up with the default credential in the screen above. And in a later lesson, I'll show you when you will actually enter activation and expiration in these fields. But for now, leave those blank. Click on OK, and then you'll see it populates down here. And then that's the 10th field, so we know we're all set, so go ahead and hit Save. Okay? So once you have entered all 10 fields, and again, first name, last name, identifying number, click on cards, encoded card number is 4, facility code 5, activation date 6, expiration date 7, active box 8, card format 9, and access level 10. Once you have those 10 items filled out, you can click on Save. And now let's prepare to test our setup. So we're going to switch over to board. So I'm going to remove the second jumper so that we can see more clearly when the relay fires. I'm going to remove this jumper so that we can see the relay light more clearly. So now let me show you how we can test our relays. So now that we have a clear view of the relay, we're going to click on Maps up at the top and then click on Device Map. And this will open up the hierarchical map which we have used in the past to make sure that we had programmed our doors. And again, we're going to come down to the one we created in an earlier session, the parking garage. And we're going to drop down the entrance gate and the exit gate. And here we're going to test the relay. So what I'm going to do in succession is I'm going to click on momentary unlock on both the entrance and exit gate. And I will do that manually while you continue to look at the screen. And I'm going to change the view to the board in question. And now you can see the board in question. And I will click on momentary. And you'll see that the relay light there on the left where the block I took out clicks. I'll do it again just so you can see clearly. So the board setup is correct. We were able to release the relay for the entrance gate and then the entrance relay for the exit gate, which is above the relays on the left-hand side. So our board has been properly set up. And now all we need to do is move on to the next session. We're going to add readers and we're going to actually test out our credentials. Well, that completes session 4. The next step will be session 5, adding readers, testing relays, checking the credentials, and a final review. Well, my name is Damon Palmer, and I've been your Millennium Trainer for today. If you have any questions or feedback on today's training, please email customer care at customerservice@mgiaccess.com. We thank you for attending, and have a great day.